Well, Penny, ready to start the garden tour? This is the end of August garden. So we've got some pak choy, some Mizuna mustard. Got a beautiful turmeric right here. A gorgeous bay leaf. We'll be dehydrating that this weekend. And we got, oh, look at this. On our Italian flat leaf parsley, we have yet a third round of swallowtail caterpillars. So pretty amazing how they find their host plants so easily. Beautiful zinnias, beautiful nasturtiums. I'm going to give a wide angle. This is the beautiful tall zinnias. I should not have put them in the raised bed, but lesson learned. It's the end of the dragon tongue beans, which were a very successful bean crop this year. They're a bush bean, and you can see they're pretty hefty bean producers. Still blooming, even though the leaves are starting to change and the season's over. They're still trying to put out those beans, so it's a really, really great bush bean. My favorite basil this year has hands down been this new variety we've tried of dwarf basil. It's got a milder flavor than the Genovese basil. Nice on a sandwich. It's really delicious in just about anything. So we have Cupid mixed zinnias, lots of little babies. We've got illumination zinnias, which are these beautiful pink ones. And then we've got some lime blush. Hello, little skipper. And then we've got some lime blush zinnias. They're just a hint of lime on the flower, and it just adds a whole different dynamic. So those are the zinnias this year. This is a Peruviana zinnia. It's very small. You can see how small it is. But it's multiple branching, and it just keeps going this time of year. It doesn't seem to be as bothered, even though it's from the more tropical area. It doesn't seem to be as bothered by the change of season. Another blush lime zinnia. Very pretty. And then an itsy bitsy Cupid mixed zinnia. Look at that little tiny guy in here. And actually little white zinnias, which don't normally get a lot of white zinnias. I have a polar bear zinnia that's a large one, but the Cupid mix was really a wide range of colors this year. And they just keep blooming. They keep pushing up those petals. They start out fairly small, like this one here, and then they just keep growing and adding petals. So that's a neat thing. More of the dragon tongue bush beans. I'll be harvesting those later today. This is new for me. It's a little cucamelon. It's really delicate and small. I started it a little late, but it's got some buds here. Just barely see them. Hopefully we'll see something out of that. These are the 4 o'clocks. They're closing up for the day. They open late in the evening and close in the morning. So they're closing up. They're a beautiful fuchsia salmon mix of color. So those are a late season bloom. They reseeded themselves. I did not seed those. So you can see how prolific those are. Got some rosemary left. Been harvesting that and using it. Nice coneflower. Nice stevia plant. Dehydrate those leaves. And we've got our ground cherries. Quite a few of those. These are the ones that the squirrels have not found. Then we have some green beans. This is a really healthy vine. It's 2 different vines here. One of them is the cave bean, which comes from the Anasazi cave. The other one I think was just one of the slender bean varieties, like a fillet bean. I just kind of mixed them in together, and that's starting to do flowers, so it's got quite a few flowers on the vine. You can see it's putting out its production now. And there's Penny. There's a tomato. This is a yellow variety. Not sure the name, but it's got a second wind now for some reason. I've never had this happen, but towards the end of the season, usually the tomato production winds down. This year I've actually seen an increase, and I'll show you when we get to the other larger beefsteak sized tomatoes, like the black crim and the regular beefmaster. But this is some rhubarb, comfrey, bumblebees have been brought to the garden by the comfrey. They absolutely adore it. They also love the anise hyssop. So that's pretty bloom. It lasts a long time. This is something that I've had for probably about 10 years, but the plant itself was only in this spot for 2 years. And then we've got the end of our small yellow grape tomatoes. This bed had a little rehab done, so I've been having a little challenge with it. So that one is solid gold, I think it's called, and it's really tastes like candy. It's that sweet. So those are really, really nice. End of that. More slender beans. They're putting out their beans now, and then there's some radish seeds and turnip seeds in between those. More comfrey, and then we have beautiful Rampicanti. This is a second wave because the first wave got squash vine borers in it. Now those are over with, so these guys should do okay, and they really tend to spread out in the garden. Asparagus, beautiful nasturtium. As always, the nasturtium never disappoints, especially this time of year. It's got all of its different flowers, all the varieties of flowers. I've got this one, which is a really large vining variety, the Alaska mix, and it's got very large leaves. And then I've got these beautiful Bloody Mary mix, which is an heirloom. All parts of that plant are edible, so we use it in salads. I use it in cooking. I use it actually as a burrito wrap around my scrambled eggs. So that's pretty tasty. And then going under the arbor here, beautiful size of those blossoms. They're great in a salad. So this is one of the arbors here, the second arbor. This is a clematis, and it's Montana. It's taken over this arbor. I try to separate it from the beans because I've got the pole beans on the same arbor. I think with the drought that we had this year, this has been a real success story. Normally my tomatoes are out in the open and full sun, which is what they really need for all the right nutrients, conditions, whatnot. But this year I intermingled my tomatoes with my green beans, pole beans. So there's 3 varieties of pole beans here. There's one of the runner bean varieties. They get beautiful scarlet flowers that hummingbirds and bumblebees love. And they've shaded the tomatoes, and my black crim was done producing until most recently. And now I've got some new little babies on the vine, which I'm a little surprised at because our season doesn't usually act like that. There's little babies over here, so pretty interesting. That was my favorite tomato this year, is the black crim. And then the beefmaster, that's also a whole second wave of beautiful tomatoes are coming. Hopefully they make it before the weather shifts. Our weather on Long Island tends to, once it gets cold, it starts to wind down pretty fast. As I mentioned, the runner beans, they're more of a broad bean. These are very leathery, tough pouches for the bean. If you get them really, really small, you could probably cook them, but I'm going to wait until they completely are dry and rattle. Then I'll be able to harvest the seed itself, and either we can eat the seed or I can save them for planting next year. One of the runner bean varieties that I put in is touted to be a perennial in our climate, so that may just survive. But back to the tomatoes, you can see there's a lot of shade under here, and I'm going to go around the other side so you can see the other side of the arbor. You'll see a lot of beans. This, I believe, is the 1,500-year-old cave bean. You can see the leaves are really healthy right now. So this variety is producing all of its bean now. I haven't gotten any bean off of this vine, and it's only now producing the flowers. So it takes 90 to 110 days to produce, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that's about right from when I planted it. We have a short season here, so I probably, just hit my mark on getting production out of it. It's not like the dragon tongue bush beans that I have that were so prolific, but now it's really putting out all these flowers. And what it's doing is it's semi-shading. I have another grape tomato. This one's the red variety. I don't know the name offhand. Sure I have it marked in the house. Can't remember every variety that's in this garden, but it's still producing a lot of beautiful tomatoes, and it's semi-shaded, but it's not harming its production nor its strength, nor there's no blight. Normally this time of year I see blight on tomatoes or some kind of leaf curl or deficiency, and they're not having a problem at all. I did amend the soil really well before the season started, but I have not fertilized. And that's important to note, because sometimes when you put things like comfrey, and there's an interesting bug. I'm not sure if he's friend or foe, so he's going to get to go today. He's not going to be taken out. So this comfrey, what it does is it fixes nitrogen in the soil. So do the legumes, like the beans. And I'm wondering, because I really, wow, look at the size of that. I'm sorry, I get distracted easy. You'll see the one variety here, and then look at the other variety of bean leaf. It's just enormous. So the beans have fixed the nitrogen and the comfrey. Sorry, there's going to be a plane going over, a jet actually. So if you look at this arbor, I'll wait till that passes. You can see just how full it is. I mean, there's beans, there's tomatoes, there's scarlet runner beans, so there's a couple of varieties. And everybody's had a pretty compatible time. There's a little bit of leaf curl here. You can see that right there. That's usually a sign that you need to address something in the soil. I can remove those leaves and see if it just, corrects itself, because it only seems to be one portion of one of the plants. So I may just take that chance. But I can't believe that normally my tomatoes are in full sun. They're really quite shaded on this arbor, and they're doing really, really well. You can see there's another one of those beef masters up there, a whole nother cluster forming over here. It's just been a really, really great year for them. Been a really nice year for the zinnias. They don't like when the weather shifts, but they'll do all right. And we still have borage in the garden. Again, more tomatoes. This one kind of just went off the rails, and there's little tomatoes back there. Amaranth, I've had trouble getting amaranth going. I know most people say it's a weed by them, but I don't know. I've tried it in sandy soil. I've tried it in fertile soil. I know it likes the sandy soil. It's doesn't seem to matter where I put it. We've had such a bad drought that I've had problems getting a lot of seeds going. But this is the garden at the end of August, and between the nasturtiums and the zinnias, there's a whole host of beautiful flowers for the pollinators and for the people, because I have been enjoying not only seeing the flowers but sharing them. This has been just a really, really great year. The hyssop, the bumblebees are loving that. Had a lot of bumblebees this year. There must be a nest nearby. A lot of little babies. The wind picking up. So that's the garden at the end of August. And it's pretty much the end of our video.